All right, hello, ladies and gentlemen. So, in today's episode, I interview Summit Strength graduates Charles and Karen, who have both recently come back from a successful summit of Kilimanjaro. Inside this episode, they talk a little bit about their inspiration behind tackling one of these amazing mountains, their preparation and training leading up to it, some of the challenges they faced on the mountain, and their experience going through this amazing adventure. A really fantastic episode for anyone who may be eyeing off Kilimanjaro in the future or who just want to hear an exciting and inspirational tale of adventure. So with that being said, let's get into it. All right. Hello, Karen and Charles. A big welcome to the show and incredibly excited to have you on board today.
Thanks. We're happy to be here.
Thank you.
So to kick things off, do you just want to give us a bit of a background? Where are each of you from? What do you do? And what are your backgrounds in hiking?
I am from South Louisiana, which is below sea level. I am an internal medicine physician. I teach residents internal medicine, how to practice internal medicine. I'm associated with LSU Medical School. I have zero hiking background until I met Charles, who took me up a few hikes in Colorado for a couple hour hikes to what elevation?
13.5.
Yeah. So that was it.
I'm 74 years old. I'm a general surgeon and also from Louisiana, so sea level guy. And my hiking experience probably goes back about 10 or 12 years when I started with some buddies climbing 14ers in Colorado. And I've done about 12 of those over the last 10 or 12 years. And that's pretty much the extent of any of my significant altitude hiking.
And then before we started working together, what was each of yours typical approach to training, whether that was hiking related or just general life related?
I think we had been, I don't mean it was a rut, but we were in this routine of walking every day. But we weren't really doing anything that got our heart rates really, I would say, into like zone 3. And we also weren't doing any balance work at all. And we weren't doing any significant weight training. So it was basically walking.
On flat ground below sea level, it's a comfortable pace.
And then what was the big goal that you'd set for yourselves? And what was the instigator of this particular goal?
So I had gone to Africa about 13 years ago on a safari, and I had seen Kilimanjaro at the time and really started to think, gee, I'd really like to climb that. And then the buddy in Colorado who I started doing the 14ers with had also summited Kilimanjaro. And so that really planted the seed for my interest in doing it. And it took 13 years to get to the right point and the right time and be able to have the time available to train and then to actually get the hike done. We committed to this, or we committed with Thompson Treks or Thompson Safaris, the outfitter, last July. So we planned the trip almost a year in advance. And then we sort of just piddled around with our training all through the end of 2025 until and I'm trying to remember exactly where I think I was just searching online for someone who could help us with training because I knew that left to our own designs, I didn't think we would really be able to keep up the motivation for getting it done. We needed the stimulus of somebody overseeing us, if you will, and a logical planned program that included all of those things that we were previously leaving out, like the weights and the strength and the balance, all things that we really needed for the hike, but we weren't doing. And I found Summit Strength, and the rest is history.
And I was just trying to keep him alive. I wasn't going to let him go by himself because we just got married, in September 3rd.
Yeah, we got married in September of last year.
So I was like, I am going to go up this mountain to keep him alive. One way or the other.
Oh, good. Oh, good. So tell us a little bit about the training that you did do through Summer Strength Operations. What did your program look like? What type of sessions were you doing? Talk us through that.
So we had, we had your app, and the recommended program was there, and we were able to. The flexibility was really nice because on a day, for instance, well, it was raining, we could do the balance and the weight work inside, and we wouldn't really get out of sync, and we just kind of flip the long hikes built in, which were great. We typically did those on a weekend. We had access to a gym, so we were able to get in inclement weather. We could get treadmill time. We could get Stairmaster time. We also accessed a parking garage near us to just do stairs up and down because we really didn't have any other way to do any sort of altitude work. But I think the plan, the flexibility of the plan, and the fact that it encompassed all the components, the cardio part, the weight part, the balance part, all the things that we recognized that we really needed and we weren't getting before, really worked great for us. And so, Summit Strength was perfect for us. We obviously, and it was flexible. If you recall, we spent a week in Italy back in March and had to adjust our training there. We had some family emergencies that required Karen to be out of town, and she was able to adjust with that. And so it really worked out great for us. It was the perfect fit for us.
And then through everything you were doing, was there anything in there that you hadn't really done before or was kind of new to you?
I think the balance work was really new. I don't think either one of us had ever done any sort of balance work. And so that was new. I hadn't really worked with bands before, the different strength or tension bands. So that was helpful. I did a couple of business trips and I just threw the bands in my suitcase and did the work in my hotel room, which worked out really well. Yeah, I would say the big piece that I'm sure we would never have done on our own was the balance stuff.
And then throughout the process, no training journeys ever linear or ever smooth, as I always say. Were there any roadblocks that came up along the way? And if so, how did you go about overcoming them?
Yeah, I had a big roadblock with my daughter getting admitted to the hospital, having a premature baby. The baby ended up in the ICU. So I noticed there was like 14 flights of stairs at the hospital that I could run up and down a few times. It even had a whiteboard at the top where you said you made it to the summit of this hospital floor. So I kind of just did that just to burn anxiety, even from the stress that she was undergoing, and just kind of kept me proud to report back to you, hey, I'm doing something, even though I'm, under this situation. But the baby's great now, 11 pounds and thriving.
Yeah, fantastic. I'd love to hear that. And so talk us through now. We talked about the training. We talked about the preparation. We talked about the inspiration. Let's talk about the trip itself. You flew over there. How did it all go? Give us the rundown. Tell us the story.
So as I said earlier, we committed to this in July of 25. And so slowly over the course of the ensuing year, or a little short of a year, we were able to get together all the items on the packing list, the recommended packing list. So we did that slowly, made sure we had the things that we felt we needed. I think we pretty rigidly adhered to Thompson's packing list, and of course there were weight restrictions. Porters can only carry 33 pounds, so you were limited to that in your duffel bag. The trip was easy. Well, I should say we initially booked flights on Qatar Airways through Doha. And once this war started, our flights got canceled. So we had to rebook through Amsterdam, which worked out fine. Getting to Tanzania was easy. The visa process was easy. And then we got picked up at the airport. We had about a day and a half down day on the front end of the trip, where we stayed at a game preserve. So we got to see a lot of wild animals, elephants, zebras, buffalo, all sorts of things like that. And then we started the climb, and we did what Thompson refers to as the Grand Traverse, which I think is also called the Northern Circuit, where it was a 10-day hike with a planned summit on the 8th day, which we did. And it worked out really great. We had plenty of time for acclimatization. We did use Diamox, which was recommended. And so we started at about an altitude of 11,300 maybe. And over the ensuing 7 days, we sort of went up and down as high as 14.5 and back down to 13, and just doing the acclimatization thing. And then on summit night, we were at 15.3 something. So we had about a 4,000 foot elevation gain on summit day. And I have to tell you, neither one of us were ever out of breath. Our training was great. I mean, we were never forced to stop because we couldn't go on. The guides paced us in the typical pole pole in Swahili, slow, slow, and that worked great. I mean, I never felt tired. I don't think you did either. We didn't feel tired out. We didn't feel like we couldn't go on. I mean, I never thought that I wouldn't make it. So it worked really well. I would say that I don't know how we would have trained for this, was the coming downhill. We descended, I think, about 15,000 feet in 3 days. And that was a little rough on the knees and thighs. But I don't know how to train for that. I mean, because it's a very steep grade down, and it's the terrain is either scree, little small rocks, or big boulders that you're stepping over. So
Slippery mud.
yeah, and then once we got into the rainforest, it was muddy. But we did it, and it was great. I mean, I could not be happier with the whole process.
I had no idea there were going to be 29 people trying to get us up the mountain. And I was not going to disappoint 29 people. There's no way. They were like so grateful, and like their goal was to get us to the top.
I think as you no, a lot of this is mental, um, and your attitude and the the entire team that we worked with. Everyone had a positive attitude, and that was contagious. I mean, it bled over to us to stay positive. They never looked at us and said, "We don't think you're going to make it." They were always very positive and encouraging, which I think is very important in doing a climb like this because, I mean, you had two people going from sea level to 19,000 plus feet. And I think a lot of it, as is true probably for a lot of challenges like this, there's a huge mental component to it.
And aside from what you've touched on so far, were there any other, I guess, major challenges you faced on the mountains or issues that popped up or anything like that that you had to overcome?
I was so cold that night. And I mean, it was so cold that night. I was worried about frostbite because I had watched these YouTube videos, the people complaining that they got frostbite, but they gave us like a hot water bottle. They filled up our Nalgene with like boiling water to put in our suitcase, I mean, in our sleeping bag. But my only struggle was freezing cold nights and peeing outside, balanced on a rock. And I was the only female, and all the men were like facing the other direction, trying not to look at me. And I'm like, hey, I'm sitting here peeing outside for the first time, and I haven't had a bath in 5 days, but the world is good.
Yeah, I would say the cold, although we knew it was going to be cold. I mean, I knew the summit night and day was going to be cold, but it was cold every night. I mean, it was in the 20s at least every night. Uh, 2 nights it snowed. One night it snowed and then froze, and so the zippers on our tent were frozen. We had to sort of fight the zipper to get out of our tent in the morning. But that was just part of the experience, I guess.
I really wanted to enjoy the stars, but I was so cold. I was like, I'd look up real quick and I'd be like, okay, that's enough. I gotta go in my tent and get back under all these layers.
Not the relaxing stargazing, hanging out for hours on end.
Right.
Oh, good.
I
So,
mean,
so talk me through afterwards now. So we've got to the top. We've got down to the bottom. We've come off the mountain. Once you finished up the trip, how did you feel? What was going through your heads, and did you do anything to celebrate it?
We were ecstatic that we had done it. And, you know, and I'm sure this is true of all the various outfitters that guide folks up the mountain. There's a tipping ceremony where you tip all the folks that have helped to get you up there, the porters and the cooks and so on and so forth. And that was really special. We got some videos of that, which are really fun. And to see all of these folks, get recognized and adequately compensated for the hard work that they did was very rewarding for us. We each got a nice certificate from the Tanzanian government saying we successfully summited. We stayed in a real nice property after we got off the mountain, and
he got his first massage at the age of
we
74.
yeah we did a couples massage. We treated ourselves to a massage. I think we each took about a 45-minute shower. So yeah, it was fun.
And he bought me these earrings from Tanzanite earrings. That was good.
Very nice, very nice. And then coming off after all of this, what's the plan of attack for hiking moving forward? Is this like got the bug? I want to go do another mountain? Is it like, you know what? I've done that. I'm ready for some more relaxing holidays or What's the plan of attack there moving forward?
I mean, we both enjoy being outside and we like hiking. We vacation a lot in Colorado, and so we're planning to head there in September. And so I'm sure we'll continue. We'd like to try to maintain the physical fitness level that we've gotten ourselves into by working with Summit Strength and using that program. And so um, my hope is that we can continue to do that. Maybe not to the as rigorous a level, but nevertheless to the point where we can continue to enjoy hiking um, at some altitude, 12,000, 13,000 feet. Uh, I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I want to stay physically fit enough to where I'm not like my mom at 83 who can't hardly move around. I want to be able to get myself up off the floor no matter how old I am.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, that's a pretty good goal to aspire to. So, yeah, okay. And then for anyone, as I said, I think before we started this call, before we start the recording, I should say, I know so many people on this podcast do have Kilimanjaro on their bucket list, and it's a one-day goal they've been kind of thinking about for 10, 20, 30 years or whatever it may be. So if anyone was listening to this and they were considering Kilimanjaro or an adventure similar to this, what advice would you give them?
I think good preparation, and that's both physical preparation, like we did with Summit Strength, mental preparation, and then get the right gear. And I'm sure that most of these outfitters have a recommended packing list, and I'm sure they're all comparable. Um, the there are some probably odd things that we either brought that we were glad we brought, or I don't know, various little small items that turned out to be useful. But I think the biggest thing, I mean, as I said earlier, I'm 74. I think if anybody's interested in doing this, if you train for it and you prepare for it and your attitude is right, anybody can do this. It's an achievable a goal for anyone if you do the right preparation. Um, you can't halfway it because it's not something you can do that way. But with adequate preparation, I think anybody can do this climb.
I mean, looking at the campsites that we were at when there were other companies, if I ever did it again, I wouldn't choose any other company but Thompson because I feel like we had so much support with with that company. Our tents were themed larger. I mean, our guides would point it out to us and say, like, the other companies, often the guests come and say, why do y'all have like all these accommodations and tents and dining tent and all this other stuff and we don't. I feel like that company took really good care of us. And they were also very good to the porters.
That was Thompson Treks, did you say? Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was very
Yeah,
happy.
interesting. Well, I'll make sure that anyone listening who wants to check them out, I'll leave a link for their website below, so you can have a little look if anyone's interested. Um, but fantastic. So I feel like we've covered some really, really, really good stuff today. And as I said, I think this is going to be super interesting and inspirational for a lot of people listening. Now, before we wrap up, was there anything else that we kind of haven't had a chance to cover today that you'd like to add about the trip or anything else?
Bring Lumi deodorant wipes. Because you're not going to have a bath or a shower for 10 days. We did not stink with Lumi, and I have disclosure, I have no interest in just Lumi, but it saved me from stinking.
Well, that's a good tip to end on there. So, how good. Well, with that being said, thank you so much for coming on today. I really, really do appreciate it to be coming on to have a chat about your story. As I said, I think like so many people listening to the podcast have Kilimanjaro on their one-day list. So I really do hope this is inspirational and informative for a lot of people. So thank you so much for coming on. I really, really do appreciate it.
Sure thing. We're happy to do it. And for anybody that listens, it's an achievable goal. Don't give up on it.
So there you go, guys. I really do hope you've enjoyed today's episode. Last thing I will say, as I always say on this podcast, if you are interested in getting a little bit extra help with your training, if you wanted to learn a little bit more about the online training program that Charles and Karen used to prepare for Kilimanjaro, and if you wanted to explore if it may be right for you to help you towards Kilimanjaro or some other adventure, I would love to chat with you. To find out more, you can go to summitstrength.com.au/online. On that page, there's a big video that talks a lot about our program. And if it sounds like something you want to learn a little bit more about, there's a link on that page. You can book a free call with our team and we can have a bit of a chat and see if and how it may be right for you. So with that being said, if you want to learn more, go to summitstrength.com.au/online and we can take it from there. So thank you so much for listening. Have a lovely day and we'll talk to you very, very soon. Bye.